All right, we're live.
We are live.
I
We are
cannot
live.
believe it is almost September. Like
You
it
know,
is,
it's
it's
it, it actually feels like
flies.
September today. I've got a sweatshirt on.
Oh,
Apparently,
see, I live in Florida. Every day is like,
I've got the
summer. I love that shirt.
I've got the Tier 11 sweatshirt. There's only like 4 of these in print, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like how you're like the only one with your own company's limited editions. Like it's cool.
I know. We did like all these prototypes of sweatshirts that we wanted to give away to clients and use as promotional stuff. And then this one everyone felt was a little bit too hardcore, but it's my favorite one because it's got like,
Oh yeah.
the old, the old school kind of like, this is Spinal Tap
Yeah,
fonts.
that's right.
I don't even know how Daniel did it, but anyway. So yeah, so we'll have to figure that out. Maybe we'll incentivize some of our live viewers at some point in time to get do some kind of contest or something creative to get a Tier 11 sweatshirt. But anyway, we're
Yeah,
not talking about
we'll do a
yeah,
merch. Like we'll be like those like annoying YouTubers where it's like, just hucking all of our sweatshirts.
totally. We actually do have a Tier 11 store, which
Oh,
is
really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if it's stocked though, so I don't want to give out the URL.
There's no inventory. I'm not running those ads, Ralph.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
doing
right. You're not doing any promotions.
I don't
Oh
I
my
don't want to
God.
have to fire us as a client.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's painful enough if and when it actually does happen. So,
Right.
cool. We've got some folks joining us here today on our Tier 11 Live Thursday edition,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different because you and I are both off tomorrow. Of
Mhm.
course, I'm taking calls tomorrow, but that's neither here nor there.
Yep.
Um, you're hanging out with your kids, and your family.
Yeah, it's my daughter's 6th birthday, and one of the perks of moving to Florida is you're really close to Disney World, and so that's where she wants to go for her 6th birthday. So we're like, and my daughter, she's, it's basically I'm wrapped around her finger. So I'm like, you want a pony? Like, what do you want? Like, I don't care. Like, I'll,
Yeah.
I don't have boys, so I just spoil girls.
I always say this. It's like I sort of feel like as a parent, I miss the whole girl experience because I've got lots of nieces that I have a very good relationship with, but they're
Mhm.
nieces, so it's not really obviously we spoil them whenever they come over and all this sort of stuff. But
It's the
I
best.
missed out on the whole like little girl thing, which
Yeah.
I just have like 2 men now, like airy, big, burly, smelly, you
Yeah.
know,
What's
eating.
funny is I loved having girls until they get up to the age where, your boys will be interested in like my girls. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. Like, no.
What's going on here?
Oh, like,
Yeah.
well, hope you like military school. Girls, like, have fun.
That's right. Off you go.
Yeah. ROTC. God bless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't send them there, but like my not to keep like derailing and that kind of stuff. My 11-year-old had her friends are getting into makeup. And then, so she wants to like, wear or do like an eyelash curl and that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Like, no, you're still 5. Like, stop. You're
Oh,
11
she's
going 12.
5.
She's in middle school now. And I'm like, you're still 5 in my brain. Like, you're not almost 12. Like, stop it. Like, it's just shrink back down. Like,
Right.
some like gray hairs all of a sudden just start rapidly coming in after that yesterday. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the part where it's like I was, girl dad is amazing until I was like teenager. I'm like, oh no, like I remember being a teenage boy. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
yeah,
I
that's gonna be
know.
scary.
I know. Like that whole, it's, you know what? I mean, it's every generation says it, but I mean, if you look back on like where like my kids are now in their 20s. So, but and like Snapchat just kind of came into being when they were in their like early teens,
Hmm.
and they were the last ones to get phones in their entire friend group. Like I think we held off until they were 14 or 15, maybe 15, which is
Hmm.
really late, I think, now. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what I would do now because like the peer pressure was like, listen, I'm not being included in like reindeer games, so to speak. I'm the only one without a phone, dad, mom. And then
Yep.
finally we're like, they actually have a point. And then it's like, how do you limit it? So, and then with the girl thing, it's like it's a whole other thing that I
Yep.
see like my niece is dealing with, So
Yeah.
I don't know what I do.
It's horrible. I'm not ready for
Yeah.
it.
Well, you're on the brink of it. So we'll enjoy this birthday tomorrow.
It'll be good.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. So there's
It'll
no
be fun
There's
times.
no Disneyland, or I always forget if it's Disneyland or Disney World in Florida. Which one is it?
Disney World. Yeah.
Disney World,
So
right?
yep, Disneyland was always the one that does in California. It's really small, 2 parks. Disney World's like 4 parks or 5 parks. Like I've been there once and we only had time to go through like 2 parks. So I was like, man, place is massive. So we're gonna be all weekend there. My in-laws are in town, so it'll be a fun time. It'll be good stuff.
Nice.
But let's get into some digital marketing. I'm
Let's do it.
excited. Today we're going to be counteracting a bit of the narrative through some testing, but I wanted to explain the importance of a YouTube strategy.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of, we talk about YouTube, we discuss all things, Google Meta, but YouTube inside of funnel development as to how it pertains to the sales of an overall product and the efficacy of how good that YouTube campaign is can really increase the entire funnel all the way down to, is your product selling on Amazon and how is it, how is it doing there? So I have a client that we actually just kind of go through. I'm waiting for the third-party attribution software that we will not name by name on this call because it's not wicked to be shared. It's waiting for it to load. Wait, there we go. Now it's pulling up. So
I think this is, as you're waiting, this is a question we like a lot of businesses get. Like you're on sales calls now. I'm on sales calls. I'm usually on like the discovery call, and then we're like, yeah, let's bring in John, kind of thing. But nobody really knows how to integrate YouTube into their overall marketing mix. And one of my best friends, online and actually in person, we met online, but now we're actual real friends, runs a YouTube agency only. That's all they ever do. And he's now finding that big advertisers, like one of the ones that we're talking to this week, huge TV advertisers, aren't even touching YouTube.
Yeah.
Like you can think of the $1 billion one that we're talking to this week, or actually sending a proposal to this week. The point is, it's like they have a TV strategy. They don't have a YouTube strategy at all. So
it's crazy.
He's finding is that his target audience is actually his TV advertisers, getting them to YouTube because they have no clue how to do it. So
what do you mean, getting the TV advertisers to like opening up new channels?
Yeah. Our main channel for demand gen, our main channel for awareness of our product is TV advertising. But we don't know how to transition that to YouTube. So he's finding that those people who really aren't online marketers, they're kind of more traditional, older school, not necessarily old school, because that necessarily isn't the case in all cases. We know of one case where they got tremendous amount of TV. They obviously do digital marketing as well, but people don't really know how to use YouTube within the context of their overall strategy.
Yeah.
So I think today's conversation,
not to blame them,
really relevant. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, it's also people, I think also, goes back to measurement. YouTube is something that it works like Meta in terms of creative, but it's much different in terms of how you measure it and what you look at when it goes good versus when it goes bad. One of the things that I'll go through just kind of a use case for this client here. And I like using examples. So this is a company that sells a product you probably all have seen, and it is it's a pet hair rake. Now, this is something that you've probably seen the videos where it's like people that are scraping the carpet and all the hair comes up and that kind of stuff. It's, you get your carpet looks fine, and then you use this little miniature microscopic rake, and all of a sudden all the hair comes out of your carpet, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I had a whole other dog stuck in my carpet, basically. Like, it's a really amazing, cool product. But then there's another product that is a new product that's a kit. And this kit is essentially nothing more than a vacuum cleaner with clippers stuck to it. It's amazing. It's lightweight, super powerful, all the good stuff, like easy to clean. Pick your unique selling proposition, insert here. Like, it's an awesome, awesome, awesome product. What we didn't truly understand was when we didn't do a target demographic or an avatar development, we stumbled upon it and we exacerbated it very, very well on accident. And I truly mean like on accident, because we're trying to back into, okay, what sort of identifications can we use instead of YouTube to say, aha, this is what is working. This is what is not working. And you know, one of the funniest accidental things that we did, and you probably can't tell here, but you can maybe see it. This is an elderly woman's hand. And elderly women apparently are our perfect demographic. Women of the ages of 55 and over. If you have to groom your dog, you don't want to go out there with scissors or clippers and try to hold a big dog. This thing, it in the video shows how this thing, sucks up the dog hair as it clips it, and it's mess free and all the other stuff. So we started to say, okay, well, I don't know why these rounds of ads are working so well. And this is a couple weeks ago. We're like looking, I'm like, things are just starting to really hum in YouTube. Like it's starting to work well. We've tried 20 different videos. We found out the ones that are kind of working that are still on right now. And it's these 3 videos are working well, and we'll go through optimizations, but I want to kind of get to the big few ahas that is standard operating procedure now instead of YouTube. But when you look at the audiences inside of YouTube and you see what's clicking and what's converting, you can kind of see the trend here. Now, this is the exact opposite of Meta. Exact opposite. Meta shows 25 to 34 as our top line, and 65 plus is very, very little. When you look at the clicks and conversion rates between 55 and 64, where you have those clicks and those conversions, those clicks, those conversions, more interest in 65 plus, the amount of conversions, better conversion rate on 55 plus, and then it falls off a cliff heading the opposite direction. So we started to accidentally identify the more of the older female demographic and then use that person in the ad, where it's now you have the older hand that's a little bit more, or not as strong to pick up 100-pound dog and like put him in a bed of a truck and go take him to the groomers or something like that. It's easy and it can be done from home. So our ad copy changing from a younger TikTok style to an older ease of use massively changed this thing to a point where we even said, okay, this is working. Let's bump this on the 25th. Like, let's go and take our cost on these people and go from $50 up to $350. Let's scale the impressions from 3,000 up to 23,000. Let's do a bump. And on the 25th, on that day, we saw a couple things that were interesting, and this is where people fail. This was one of our best days we ever had. We kept the same MER, 28% increase in spend, 32% increase in revenue. So our CAC and our MER stayed the same. Facebook ads did better. Amazon did better. YouTube, we spiked up, 300%. Looked like it quote unquote failed, but then since we're running Performance Max, ta-da, a 4x there.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. But then what was interesting is after that day, on the 25th, the 26th, and 27th, now all of a sudden YouTube is like, woo, now that's doing 100% better. And things are shifting back. Our first click is looking really terrible on YouTube, but our multi-touch is looking, our first click our first touch is looking good, but our multi-touch is bad. So it's like self-learning, and then started to introduce time lag because we're looking at this on a cash basis. So as soon as this blipped up here, the next few days looked amazing. The actual the guttural reaction from people that from this increase in ad spend, and we tested and we went from 3,000 views to 16,000 of a really good target demographic. Everything over the board, everything everywhere else was great. Ramped it back down, and then everything got worse. Like it was clear as day. The only thing that didn't measure well or look like it had any sort of impact was YouTube.
Right.
YouTube did the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
We spiked
because there's no click.
YouTube looked worse. Right. YouTube looked really terrible. And then we ramped down YouTube, and YouTube's like, oh yeah, that was me doing all that. I finally can attribute it 2 to 3 days later. But the biggest source of truth was that you can see how much money we're spending here in YouTube compared to, like, let's say Meta and 15K. This went from a 4% post-purchase survey.
This is a day, right? I'm looking at
day.
this 26. Okay.
No, this is 2 days here. Yep. But what was interesting is on this day that we spiked it up on the 25th, and we said, okay, how'd this do? That brought all of the good lift and everything was really, really good. When we spiked up the YouTube ad spend on that day, compared to the day before, our post-purchase survey said 4% of all of the sales of that kit came from YouTube. The 25th, 16% of all of the sales of that kit that day said that they found out about us through YouTube. And those are the only ones that we can track that didn't go to Amazon, which is 30 of 57,000. So we spiked up YouTube. Post-purchase survey said went from 4% to 16%, even though we're only spending about 10%. So now the post-purchase survey ratios of people who are buying from us from YouTube are vastly outpacing the amount of money that we're spending on YouTube compared to Meta. Post-purchase survey was a really good indicator. Post-purchase survey also is at random. So the answers are always jumbled. It's not just YouTube number one. You have to make sure that YouTube is sometimes first, then seventh, then ninth, and then sometimes gone, and whatever it is. So using good testing and post-purchase survey. But that was my first indicator where it's like, if I spike this up and people come in, recency bias, if also first click is accurate, so say that I found you on YouTube, and that worked. So like, okay, so we found the right ad copy, obviously to the right audience, that when we spike it up, even though YouTube looks like it did the worst in terms of media efficiency ratio, it brought a whole bunch of new customers or new visits to the site.
Yeah.
So our ECPNV on YouTube was better than Google and better than Facebook. Subsequent days of measurement should show that after the 25th, the 26th, and 27th, here,
so you did a 1 day spike and then nothing after
1 day
that,
spike.
just to see, just to test this. In essence. Okay, got it.
Because we already had 4%, 5% of everyone saying, yeah, we found out about you on YouTube. When we introduced YouTube, it did actually have a good top line result.
Okay.
And then let me get to the correct visuals.
The others I have to assume are Google, just like Google search.
No, pretty much Meta. Google it's running Meta. PMax now. Okay. Yeah, PMax that's what's funny is as soon as we started spiking up on YouTube, you get like PMax all products like, yeah, I'm doing much better. And then PMax gets like, I can spend 14% less to make 42% more conversion value. And I'm going to hit a 500 ROAS. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, Performance Max is all of a sudden just going really, really good out of nowhere. I wonder why. And it's like, did you know that all of these people Googling your brand are now Googling it much, much more often in these days? It's like, yes, of course, because you spike up YouTube and Upper Clean makes $2,000, which is a 285% increase than the prior 2 days. Wow, shocker. So when you spike up YouTube the following 2 days, Performance Max is like, look at these 500-600% ROASs from your brand that came out of nowhere at 285% increase in the last 2 days for fun. So
if you were the average marketer, you just say spend more money on your Performance Max.
Exactly. And like, YouTube didn't really work. Look, we spent 138% more and we lost 10%.
All right, so I'm going to take a step back here. So you figured out.
One last thing, I will. Okay, I have to throw.
I won't summarize
your plan.
The John 10 quite yet.
Not yet.
I'm ready.
But last but not least, you look at this here and say, is this strategy working? Yes. I mean, going all the way back to like March 1st, because we launched YouTube a few weeks ago at a level, like you can clearly see this one product that is the only thing we're marketing on YouTube in Performance Max, boop, just reached new levels of new heights.
Right.
So that's why people suck at YouTube, is because it's extremely difficult to measure trends. I'll stop there.
All right. So if you were to do this with a new brand, it's like you had some YouTube that was running for this just to begin with.
On a different product, on a $12 item, not a $200 item.
Okay. So maybe just let's deconstruct that, I guess. Like, how do you determine in order to get to the level where you're like, all right, I can do a test of this, spiking up my spend on a particular platform, YouTube we're talking about here. How do you get to the point where you have a better than average or a high degree of certainty that the test is actually going to be accurate? What are the steps that you sort of take? Like, because everyone's like, all right, well, I'm running some YouTube videos, I suppose, or I don't really know what I should be running to begin with. Like, how do you kind of start there?
Let me do this. I have to refresh, which let me just rechange Google back to what I need it to look like.
And these results are very, very, very cool. So you're obviously, now you're spending more on YouTube, I have to assume.
We went from 300 up to 600, and now it's at 1,200 all in the last like 3 weeks.
It's great.
Per day.
It's great.
Oh my God, this is killing me. It's still loading. Well, anyway, what we did, there we go. So what we did here is we started on a journey that will tell us how lean and mean and accurate can this be. So inside of here, you'll see the conversions, the views. This is just a YouTube targeting strategy. And you can see you got some conversions here, but you don't really see you know, a lot of scale or anything, or a lot of spiking up. You also see kind of lower levels of efficiency, which is 1.08. Not bad, just not really good tracked ROAS, which is fine. So as I back down all of these metrics here, this is the cost. So the cost was only about $300 a day. And you can see the cost was at $300 a day, basically since June 4th, all the way out to July 29th. So you're testing this for a while. Mm-hmm. The reason why we're testing this here is we're trying to identify what other sources of truth can we look at to say, aha, we think this is actually making an impact. And then we start to level it up. What did our post-purchase survey say when we went from like $200 to $300 a day, then $300 to $400, and then $400 to like $600? This showed that the post-purchase survey went from like non-existent to like 1% and 2% all the way up to like 6% of all the sales. And I was like, okay, it's about 6% of all the ad spend. And our CAC was not removed. Our CAC was not increased. Excellent. So higher volume, flat CAC, and post-purchase survey is kind of trending around the percentiles of our total sales compared to Meta, for example. And Google's still kind of non-existent. No one really says like, oh, you do get a couple of people that are like, I search for this, but because this is a unique and product that has not really been introduced to the marketplace, there wasn't existing search traffic for it. So you have to generate a market. You have to generate demand.
Right.
Exactly.
Awareness, top of funnel, all that.
Yep. So then when we started to see, and we're just doing ad testing. So we're doing like 3 to 4 new videos every 1 to 2 weeks. Sometimes it's week over week. Sometimes I get a batch of like 8 videos that I test over 2-week periods. So whenever they can get it to me is when I'll start to do testing. And the first thing that we look at is the percentage served. Does Google like this? Which means, is Google serving that ad often? And you can see the percentage served, which is here. So that's a column I use. And say, like in the last 14 days, if I show all the ads that were on at that time, you can see like, okay, this was on, but the percentage served was 3. So it's like, okay, Google is ignoring that video and ignoring that video. They're not showing the majority of the video. So shut them off. It's not going to work. We need new ad copy. So there's now the 3 videos that are on. And then I say, okay, are people engaging with the ad? They're watching it to 20% of them on these videos are watching 3/4 of the video, and that's 30 to 53 seconds. Good. We have good engagement, good percentage served. Click-through rates are fantastic at 1.1, 0.7, and 0.95. Google optimizes of anything over 0.55. You see these were not 0.55, which is what Google didn't really care about. So you say, okay, Google and YouTube like the videos, percentage served is high, the click-through rates are high, the people are watching the videos are working well. Checking ECPNV, these are actually beating new customer visits from YouTube, beating Meta, which is insane because who clicks on YouTube ads? Practically no one, which means our CPMs are lower, which means our quality is higher.
Sure.
I'm gaining about the same amount of click traffic as I am from Meta. It's attributing less, but it influences more because more people watch YouTube videos that don't click but still like the product versus people that would click on Meta when they do like the product. So I know that those variations are okay, but I'm looking at $1.43 first touch versus $2.03 on Facebook. Excellent. Like I'm getting a whole bunch of good quality cold traffic that when I earn that click is just as or even better quality than what's coming from Meta because they're watching YouTube videos. I'm interrupting their day, just like a feed. Excellent. So those are the things that we get to look at first is this quality?
Right.
Okay.
Now
and then
on all these ads right here, equal impression share, like equal impressions, like does YouTube actually really split tests?
Yeah. And that's where you'll see the percentage served. So basically it says if I have 100,000 people, you get 41%, 31%, and 22%.
Okay. But overall, you've got how many ads did
3.
you initially? Just 3.
20.
20. So when you were doing that round of like, all right, which ones are actually the ones that are going to resonate with the audience?
I do 5 at a time to pick the top 3.
Okay. At it.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Now, here's the thing is because the attribution, like why would you keep it 27 and not shut off the 9? Look at the 150, 100 versus 256 cost per conversion. This here, for example, when you see that you have good watch engagement, this is, pretty good, inline 19, 18, 16. Okay, that's good. This is 14, 12, 12. They're engaging.
Yeah.
Are they clicking on this one and buying? That's all that this tells me here. But what if I watch that first and then click on the second, click on the third? Or what if I watch that first, click on the second, click on that third? And now we're looking at L1, L2, L3, or prospecting and then engagement and remarketing. All this is Google is picking its own mini funnel. To call them sequencing. So it picks its own sequencing, and that's what's telling me what is in the sequence. Something that's getting 2% of the percentage served is not in the sequence. So just because the CPAs aren't low does not mean that Google is not using that as one of the 3 videos to warm up and educate an audience. They're just not clicking yet. So don't get rid of it if it's serving. Because then,
so I guess my question is, how did you narrow it down to these 3?
Those 3. If Google likes it, I will run it.
Got it. Okay.
And what usually happens is when you upload 5, you get 1, sometimes 2. This found 3. I'm like, excellent. Like, that's perfect. If there's 3 videos being rotated in perpetuity to cold traffic, that's a mini funnel right there, basically.
So it is really a split test. Like, we had this conversation late last night.
Yeah.
About Facebook, how Facebook just, if you're doing CBO, it just didn't put one ad set. Like, it just picks one video and that's it. And it's not necessarily your best one. It's arbitrary.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a true
one that it found so far.
Right.
This is a true split test. Yeah, it really is. And that's what people, they sort of work against the algorithm because it's really arbitrary to say, take 5 videos and throw it in one ad set and cross your fingers. But that's kind of how Google likes to work. But it will work the magic for you by saying, hey, these people are engaging, they are clicking, they are watching. And I will then say, like, Ralph needs to see ad 132, John needs to see ads 321, Barry needs to see ads 123. Like, it will adjust the sequencing that it needs. And where people most often fail is they'll take this one and pause it. And now it's got to try to do what it did before with only 66% of the ads that you left on. It's gonna interrupt things. So if I say, okay, I think this is working well, let's spike up spend. What happens? Post-purchase survey. What also happens inside of the overall ecosystem? If YouTube is working, we should see a lift everywhere. It's almost like an incremental test, but I like incremental tests not by shutting off and seeing how much volume I can reduce to prove it. My incremental test is scale. Because if you do an incremental test, or if you do like a holdout test, all you do is lose volume to prove that marketing works. But marketing works at scale is much harder than, say, I told you that ad was doing something. So my test is always scale. If it's working, I should push it. And it should
at a really simplistic level, though, if you looked at this, if you went into this, and you said, okay, well, I'm trying to find like the ad that actually works. Well, technically it's ad 11.
Yeah.
That's the one that's working. But you're saying, don't shut off your top 3. Like, how do you figure out, like, it's going to be your top 3? Is there some sort of threshold that they have to have based upon watch time?
That is your ultimate North Star right there. Percentage served.
Okay. Percentage served. So anything below like a 20 or so, you're like, it's not. It's not.
You want them to be sort of equal to each other. If you have 10 ads and they all have 10%, that's 10 great ads.
Oh, okay. Because they're going from one to the other. Yeah, I see. So it's,
but if you have 10 ads and 8 are, at 12% and the other 2 have 0.1, they're dead. You have to replace them.
That's how you decide.
So you'll see this percentage served. This one's got 108 cost per conversion, but this one's shown more. So we won't be able to tell, did people just have to see this one more often and they were seeing this one secondary and it converted well? Then this one, Google is going to start to ignore. And now in a week from now, this may go from 22 down to 0. Great. Then these 2 are the only ads that are working.
Right.
So I got to replace this one.
Ad number 13, just because of the data is telling you that. So
yeah, if Google isn't pushing it, then it's probably not working. Now, here's the other thing, though, that's extremely important is the bidding strategy will reflect what this will show. So during this whole time period that I've been testing this, what I've been doing is going from a manual CPV to changing it over to a conversion-based bidding strategy. I did maximize conversion value. Then once I made it to at least a 1, I stuck it on a T-ROAS of 1. And once it was at a T-ROAS of 1 or above, that's when I was like, okay, now double the spend. And boop, it'll spend it. So the T-ROAS here, if it can find users at 100% and can scale after you've picked the right audience with the right ad copy, with what Google likes that actually is resonating, verified by CAC, and also confirmed by post-purchase survey, we're in a great position now because a 1x return on YouTube of pretty much clicks, damn, like that is good.
That's
the other
impressive.
thing too the other thing you could do is even if you have a a third-party software tool, you can go and say, well, show me all the converting paths in this last 28 days that I know are from the platform of, let's just say, YouTube ads, and then say, okay, if this is actually working, I should see a lot of attributed first click conversions. If it's working, because it is cold traffic, I can scale it. Post-purchase surveys does, everything's lining up so far. because we did the hard work of giving it enough time, testing enough audiences, testing enough creative, and testing enough demographics to then say, okay, we should actually be able to get this thing to scale. And my first initial thing to look at to say, can I double this budget and can I triple the budget was, did I see this? And I did.
Yeah, you did.
Beautiful. That is a really good, nice first click. And that first click is showing too that this person has to click twice and 3 times and 2 times and come back direct 5 times here. Okay, good. Like, fine. Like I'm seeing, you know, my singular clicks are 38, 38, 84. Perfect. Good stuff. So that's when you can get a T-ROAS to lock in and scale, you are a home run. The problem is it takes sometimes 2 months of really good testing.
Yeah.
Some of my best scales inside of YouTube were running dormant for upwards of 6 months. Then you just crank it up, because YouTube is like inbound search, only it's harder, which means it takes the same amount of data for YouTube to optimize as it does inbound search, but it needs those off of click attributed. So you can have a large impact in your company and be really good position because of YouTube, but YouTube doesn't know it yet, because you got a whole bunch of engaged view conversions and Google's like, I still didn't even attach a G-clit to these people yet. I have no idea who they are.
Right.
So it's still not seeing it quite yet. It has some good learning, but it's not as good as click attributed. So it takes 20 click attributed conversions in Google search. I don't think you can do that in a day. Instead of YouTube, 10 times, 15 times the ad spend of inbound search, and probably 10 times longer for the same end result. But you have to give it a lot of time. It has to percolate, because as you get those clicks and attribution, is learning more and more and more and more. So that when you say, hey, go ahead and just triple the budget, it's like, you got it, boss. And it does that. Right. But those thresholds are percentage served. Click-through rates are important. Watch rates out to 75%. 75% are important. Click attributed conversions in your audiences are important. Let that influence your video creative so that you're targeting the right market. Even though it's different than Meta, it doesn't matter. Google is sometimes different audiences. YouTube's different audiences. But I found an audience that I'm gonna leverage. And so those are things important. And then when I scaled it up, YouTube looked the worst, but everything that stole conversions like Amazon and PMax looked amazing, and my top line held. Yeah. So let's push it. And now this last week we doubled the budget. We'll see what happens.
What post-purchase survey tool do you use on this one? Do you remember?
I don't know. I just asked the client. I was like, hey, what does it say this week? He's like, here's what the numbers are. I'm like, excellent. That's tracking. But I'll have to find out what it is.
It doesn't. Yeah, we should actually, because we have a lot of friends in that industry, actually, believe it or not. And I'm always sort of like,
we do, or we don't?
We do, actually.
Oh, well, I have access to the apps in the back end. Let me just look.
No, it'd be interesting to know, because I mean, you're using that as one more metric. I mean, a lot of times, like I think in previous YouTube lives that we've done here, we've talked about, don't rely on in-app metrics. Well, in this case, you're actually you're getting your cues from the in-app metrics. You're not using the in-app metrics as your source of truth.
No, it's broken. That trend's right.
Right. You're following the breadcrumbs, and those are in-app metrics. Which in this case, it took like 15 different videos, if I'm not mistaken. So narrow it down to 3, which is actually a really high percentage of success.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
especially that you can scale up to $1,200 a day from $300. You know what's funny is the back end of the first click attribution inside of Shopify says the last 30 days that YouTube brought me 2 new customers and 0 returning. That's it.
Right.
And that's what's funny too, is that's a huge thing in terms of like when you can rely. It's like, I can't rely in app, but I also can't rely on third party. Yeah. Like if I say, hey, what is the first click in the last 30 days? It's like, oh yeah, YouTube brought 2. Cool. Yeah, like, that's 2. Like there's YouTube is not even on here.
Yeah, doesn't really help. I'm just curious. Are you? I know we've got a lot of questions here that we got to answer, but which we'll get to in a second. Thank you.
And one last thing, actually, too. I know there's a whole bunch of things. This is the other part too. Is try testing non-PDPs. Like we made a mini website for this product. So this is what was interesting. YouTube to a PDP, cool. But if you skip the landing page, you stop the selling. So this is what's interesting is if you take a YouTube video, showcase demo, really cool. If you got a small amount of attention, you gain interest, you stop the scroll. You stop the skip, I should say.
Stop the skip.
Earn the click. Yeah. Yep. And then 5 reasons why it's a perfect solution to seasonal shedding. And so now we're actually like selling. It's almost like a VSL without the V. This is stupid. But yeah.
Is this this is the page you're sending that YouTube traffic to if they actually do click?
Yeah. Yeah. We tried the gifting angle and then the 5 kit seasonal. So what's funny is if you say like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually interested. Let's buy this. Actually, no, you got to click on this one. Then you go to the PDP.
Okay. Yeah.
So we all rows lead to the PDP. So tracking doesn't get interrupted. We're just putting basically a splash page in front of it that does a high sizzle.
We could do a whole show just on that unto itself, but
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Now, like on your Facebook spend, I noticed there's a fair amount of Facebook spend. Are you commingling assets between the two? Like, this obviously works to cold traffic on YouTube. Why wouldn't it also work over on the Facebook side?
It's actually working less effectively on Facebook. Facebook is dragging us down from a media efficiency ratio. Yeah.
No kidding.
I don't know why. But it's like, I'm like, hey, can I scale up YouTube? They're like, well, not until we get Meta in line. I'm not running the Meta. I'm just running the YouTube. And doing
but are they using the same video assets? Is my question.
Use the same video assets. Yeah.
Okay.
The demographics are completely different though. That's what's weird is like my 65 is their 18. Like it's weird. Like, I don't know if it's just like, I was like, man, we're seeing much better success at 65. He's like, that is, I mean, the graphs do this inside of Google versus Meta and demographic. So very interesting. Like the ones that are perfectly working inside of YouTube to an old audience are not working to a young audience. Typically, those are really blended, like very blended.
That doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I know.
But you're not running the Facebook side, obviously, in this particular case, or the Meta side. So you don't really know which platform they're actually coming from. They might be like largely skewed towards, Facebook instead of Instagram, or like that doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like if you have some sort of level of success at an awareness level on YouTube, it should translate over to the social platforms, which are discovery platforms. They're not really looking for this stuff. You're doing this in a pre-roll, obviously. You're getting them to not click, skip, So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what was interesting is like this same strategy executed on Meta. I mean, it's working, but it's not, it's giving us like a 1.1 MER, where on Google and just YouTube by itself, everything we can track so far with unique landing page and everything is giving us about a 3.5. So really interesting. Now there is a lot of warm traffic in Meta though. So I think what Meta is doing is kind of cannibalizing the growth in on itself. Like they're really hurting for cold traffic. Like it's hard for them to get cold traffic. And so that's where I think like Meta, if Meta and YouTube were both brand new ecosystems in this new strategy, I think it'd be different, but we're taking an old Meta account and slapping new YouTube for a new product. So I think that Meta is just not being able to get the cold traffic like YouTube is.
It's almost like they need a whole new ad account.
Yeah. Or Meta needs to actually listen to exclusions.
Well, we know they don't.
Right. So, and they've been spending $100,000 a month for 2 years now. But the new product launch is only being really successful on YouTube.
I created a new Meta account, actually.
Yeah.
You should get them over to tier 11.
I think so.
Anyway, leave that for another day. We should get to some of these questions.
Let's do it.
We're already 40 minutes into it.
Oh my God, I talk too much.
No, this is great. We haven't really talked about like a cult. It's like, for those of you listening, like this is a start to, I wouldn't even say finish, but start to a level of success YouTube strategy that was basically non-existent. And it took you how many months now? I'm going to say
like 2 to 3 months, really.
Okay. It was 2 to 3
months. For this new product. Yeah. 2 to 3 months. But then it's like, now that's what's funny is 2 to 3 months of man, we can't get this to work. Let's try iterate.
So even if you're John Moran, like to figure out YouTube, it's going to take you at least 2 to 3 months. And
I'm not the smartest person here. I'm just the one that spent the most amount of money, made the most amount of mistakes. That's what I always say.
Well, I know you're not right. I know you're not doing the videos themselves. Right? Like they have obviously creative that's being done for them, which is fine. The point is like you're the one that's actually trying to figure it out, like what message really works at the end of the day. And it takes 2 to 3 months to sort of figure that out. Best case scenario.
Yeah. Now, what's nice is we didn't hemorrhage any cash from the time. We just didn't scale.
Right.
So that's what was cool is we were like, $200 a day, successful, $300 a day, successful, $600 a day, successful. Now we're at 1,200. So far, so good. Like, but it took, 60 to 75 days to go through that process.
Right.
I think
So
a lot of
adding
happens
on.
Like, yeah.
You're looking at your NCAC. Is my NCAC all of a sudden expanding? My NCAC staying the same. I still scale. All of a sudden, NCAC, I'm seem to be getting more new customers coming in. Like you're doing it gradually, but with a couple of $100 a day incrementally. But obviously, there is a captive audience on YouTube that is largely cold, which is really a big takeaway from this. It's like, where can you find another blue ocean? Yeah. I can think of so many clients right off the top of my head that like the next level of scale is YouTube. 100%.
And that's and usually people though, they are their worst enemy. What's the ROAS on YouTube? If you say that word, fire yourself. Period. Like
or if your agency says that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if you don't ever say those words. That's like saying, what was the click attributed ROAS on the Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah. I was about to say the exact same thing. I think we've done too many of these together. This is like our seventh one, by the way. So
hey, time flies. Okay, sorry. Questions.
Let's get to questions. All right.
Hey, Ramina.
Artur. Great to be. Ramina's here.
Hey, Artur and Ramina. That's
Thank
cool.
you for coming on. It's funny. It's funny how some clients. This is someone that works at Tier 11. It's funny how some clients forget we need inventory for ads. I think she was talking about like us selling the Tier 11 sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Which I guess now we have to send one to Romina.
There you go.
Anyway, just because she showed up and said a funny question. Artur is a long-time watcher. Hey guys, I've learned a lot from you. What are the top 3 books you'd recommend for someone eager to dive deeper into the mindset of effective marketing? What are you currently reading? Oh boy,
that is you, my good man.
Me?
That question's all for you.
Someone eager to dive deeper into the mindset of effective marketing. I would say the guy that I interviewed on Perpetual Traffic this week is the first thing that I would actually do is get Dr. Robert Cialdini's book called Influence. I would start there because that's about psychology, really, and mindset itself.
It's like 90% of marketing.
It's 90% of marketing. And he talks about like, he is the guy who actually coined the phrase social proof.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, I was actually scared shitless.
That's my legacy. One day I'm going to make something that people are like, I'm going to create something people are going to like resonate with, like, and just use as like a, just, that is a standard in the industry now. That's what I'm going to try to do one day. I'm going to figure out something.
Well, we're trying to do that actually with branding, John Tent. This is John Tent right here, by the way. Well, maybe that's it. Like I need something John Tent like. So anyway, I would go there. There are a lot of books that I would read, but I would say start with that one for sure, Artur. And if you've read that one, I would go to Persuasion, which is another great one. Thanks for CPO Growth. Saying that's hello. Hi from Texas.
And Josh. I know those guys. Hey, Caden. Hey, Josh.
Can't get enough of these videos. Okay, I'm just like clicking through the list. All right, Joe Moss. Thank you, everyone, for commenting here. For demand gen, relies heavily on video production for L1, L2, L3. Are there any agencies or contractors that specialize in demand gen video production for small to mid-sized businesses?
I think I know one. So Tier 11 has actually could we announce it here? Is that cool? Like the whole
I don't think we can say it publicly, but we have merged. I mean, technically, I suppose it's an acquisition, but it's a merge because like our creative department was always very good, but this creative team that we just merged with is world-class. And they are now part of Tier 11. We have not made we have to wait for like the PR announcement. We have to notify all the clients and everything, but it basically is we're already integrated. Their whole team is integrated into what we're doing in the last 2-3 weeks.
We meet with traffic and creative strategies.
Yes, absolutely. They're already starting to do our marketing. They're doing everything. So I would say go to Tier 11, but the Tier 11 creative of old is not the Tier 11 of today. And this is the kind of stuff that you would get. So sorry to be the one to be
cryptic, but it's worth
my own business, and also cryptic at the same time. Anyone you'd recommend even a copy idea? We got somebody to film edit. We are in New York City. I would say the same thing, actually. because they do this whole new team is pre-production, production, and then post-production. So
and it sounds like we're just pitching ourselves, which I know we are. I'm going to be the first one to say like we're pitching ourselves, but this is something that has come up after just years of working, as for me at least, not tier 11, but years of working. Be like, please get your creative team, your creative department, your creative agency, your people that are doing your creative, please get me this. Like it sucks to be the person that can, like, I'll just use my doctor analogy. Like, I'm in the surgery room, I'm ready to operate, but my scalpel is still not made yet. Like, I'm like, give me that. So we basically just decided to, cure our own problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, the problem that you're having, Joe, is the same problem we had for years, and that has now been fixed. So yeah, we feel your pain. That's why it's been.
And we,
merged.
Meaning me, looked at many, 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 many creative agencies. Like, I can't tell you how many calls I had. These guys are just amazing. So anyway, but now it's part of tier 11. So anyway, so that is the answer there. All right. So Amar, hey boys, many of us experienced PPC guys want to leave freelance sites and start an agency. Can both of you share what you should do to kick in? Apart from these platforms, where do we get clients, real ones?
Yeah, if you want to be an agency, the first thing that I would say is look at the talent pool that you can hire quickly. Because a lot of people are like, okay, I'm an agency and now I need clients. Like, no. You're an agency. Now you need prospective people to work as employees or work with you. The largest thing, and this is a person, I've been involved in 5 agencies my entire life. I've been involved in 5 of them. Sold 2, closed 1. And so what I've learned is that sales does not cure all in an agency. Sales kills all in an agency that cannot fulfill the needs at the level that are up to your standards. That is a very, 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 very difficult thing to say. Getting the clients is actually fairly easy. You just have to produce, pardon my French, a shit ton of case studies that says, like, I did that for that person. That's 90% of everything, as long as your pricing is not stupid. But the problem is that when you get out of like 5 clients, and you have to take on more internal resources in order to perform at the same level or similar levels that you were at before. That's where the agencies suck come in. That's exactly what happens. And then you get people that are like, okay, I'm going to hire you. You're going to pass me off to a junior. They're not going to know what's going on. I'm going to fire you and repeat the process, right? Like, you probably have heard that if you're an agency. Like, that is the mantra of the agencies, because you can't farm out your brain power. So that part is the area that you really have to get over at the hurdle, and it's not cheap, it's not easy, it's not fast. So I would say think about that first.
Yeah, for sure. Like, people are everything. I would say the one thing that I would do if I was starting again, I would figure out the one thing I do better than anybody else in the world, or at least I think I do, and I would go after that niche and start there, and then work out from there. Like, we were the first Facebook ads agency on the planet. Well, there was 2 other guys, but we were the only one that actually really did it. So it's like, we knew that was going to be something big. Obviously now there's thousands of them, but I would figure out like a niche, a thing, something that you do better than anybody else. So you don't become one of those agencies, like John says. And I would start there and work for cheap and work your ass off.
Yeah. And figure out how much you can actually pay the work, not how cheap you can get it. That's the thing. The moment that you're like, oh, I can offshore this to this country for this price, it's so cheap. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. It's not necessarily high quality. All right, let's get back to this. Thanks a lot for doing this. How can we implement the feeder strategy for e-commerce using shopping? I think we had this question last week.
Yeah. So one campaign using low priority on max clicks or manual CPC, the duplicated version of that campaign on a high priority on a TROAS.
There you go. Perfect. Dylan Fetch says, how do you utilize the different attribution models in Northbeam, specifically between clicks only and clicks and views? We've run into the scenario that you guys cover frequently, where FB in-app and clicks only give all credit bottom of funnel, clicks and views divide the credit and gives top funnel better CAC. I'm not sure the best to communicate that, as FB over attributes bottom of funnel. Very true.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
So I don't use first click. I'm sorry, I don't use click and views. Click and views means an AI interpretation of what it thinks happened, but usually defaults to whatever proactive channel spent the most.
And you're talking about Northbeam specifically.
So what happens is if you use click and views and you're running Google and Meta, no, if you're running YouTube and Meta, but Meta spending 5 times as much as YouTube, it just naturally gets 5 times the attribution that it didn't know where it came from. So it basically takes zero data and says, okay, I have all these conversions here. I have 100 of them. Meta spending $5,000 a day. YouTube spending $1,000 a day. You get 4, you get 1. So everything that you're basing that expensive decision off of is probably directionally accurate, but I'm not going to take clients' hard-earned ad spend and test that theory when I don't know more. So click and views, I don't use it. I use cold traffic and first click as my one point of truth, not singular, but as one point of truth.
One point, right?
And then I look at in Google, then I look at my back end of attribution, then I look at the impact, then I start to do my creative, or then I do my ad spend testing. So when in attribution, attribution is directionally accurate. Pick one that you like and then use that. So say I'm always going to use a 7-day look back on accrual on first click. Good. What is that metric? It's 0.6. It doesn't mean it's 0.6. It is 0.6. Does 0.6 go to 0.7 or does it go down to 0.3 when you scale?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the right number. It just has to be directionally appropriate for what
That's
you're
like
trying.
mini benchmarking almost.
Right. It's just mini benchmarking. Yeah. That's all it is. Take your point and say, if this is getting, if that should not go up, if this works. And if it does go up, it doesn't work.
Right. Very true.
Cool.
Like, just like our case study here. Like, oh, you were looking at NCAC.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'm scaling more. NCAC isn't expanding.
NCAC was my goal. Exactly.
Yeah.
Volume at NCAC is the goal. I don't care what that number is that equates to that top line goal. It just can't look worse.
Right. Right. When you get to that point, like that's really what you ultimately want to be looking at. Because I mean, customers don't like hire you to get the same customers. They want new customers. They want blue ocean. They want, to expand and grow the business. So, okay. Bridge is asking, I think I'm butchering his name. I'm not even going to go
Bridge
for
today.
Like the last Bridge today. I'm trying to use search to maximize clicks with website traffic marketing objective to replicate feeder strategy for e-commerce. I am keeping lower bid caps to keep CPCs in control. Thanks again. I don't know if there's a question in there.
Okay, so basically he's just trying to use maximize clicks on search. You can, but the problem is the max clicks on search is even more expensive than max click on shopping by like 40%. So I would say try to use max clicks on shopping and then a T-ROAS on shopping. Just because it's going to be a hard jump to make that efficient just because the CPCs on search are typically more than shopping.
There you go, Bridge. That's
is it Roll or Roel? I don't know.
Roll.
I'm thinking of the Christmas song with Noel, so that's why I'm just replacing M with R now.
Roll. All right. How can you find how many days the sales cycle is without an attribution tool like Wicked, using Meta to generate demand using the L1, L2, L3 setup? Good question.
Yeah. So typically what I would say is if you're not using Google, so you don't get the little cheater engine of what your brand is typically on your impressions to conversion. I test everything by scale. So if it's working well, increase your L1, 2, and 3 by 50% and leave it a week. And then see when your conversions actually start to increase. Now, you can only really test this if it's working well, but if you're running an L1, 2, and 3 and you're worried about attribution, you're probably already in a position where it's working quite well. So increase all 3 because you're not going to start to increase just one and then fail on the remarketing. So you have to increase all 3 because you're trying to exacerbate the volume of a funnel. You're not trying to interrupt the flow. So increase by L1, 2, and 3 by 50%. And then just watch, okay, when does I'll see my traffic go up on my website, and then I see my conversion rate dip on my website, and then I see my conversion rate come back on my website. The time between where you see the increase in users and then the normalization of that conversion rate is typically your time lag.
Got it. It kind of brings up one of the questions that are here. I'm actually going to show this because we've got plenty of questions that we've got to get to. I'm going to get back over to it. Is the difference between Northbeam and Wicked? Because we've got another question in here that's sort of like that. Like, and how do you look at the two, Northbeam, Wicked?
I use them the same exact way. They're just going to give you different broken clocks. I mean, that's why attribution is not accurate. It's just interpreted.
Got it. I'm trying to get back to our questions here. This is hard being the producer and the host at the same time.
I got the easy job. I just talk.
All right. From here's the question. From John's chair, do you use educational videos as ad creative on YouTube?
From John's chair.
From John's chair, do you use educational videos as ad creative? I think he's asking, like, what content do I use for my YouTube ads, if I'm not mistaken, Elbeck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. From John's chair. I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to assume you're just saying like for us. But yes, educational videos ad creative on YouTube is all we use. That's been my model. I've never actually sent traffic to the website. If you see a YouTube ad from tier 11, chances are when you click the CTA, it's going to be watch more, and you're going to go to that video or our YouTube channel so you can be educated. That's how we sell. I mean, if we can talk the talk and show you how we walk the walk, and I will pay to prove to you that we are the best. I'm not going to sell you anything. It's still consultative. We may even not take you on as a client, but I'm trying to show everybody we know what we're doing by this. It's easy.
Yeah. This will eventually become a video that you will see as a pre-roll, some portion of it. If that gives you your answer. We have got 4 minutes left, so we might want to go round robin or
let's go fast. Let's see.
Go fast.
Let's just do a real quick rapid fire. How much spend would you say you need to have a third-party attribution tool? Over $5,000 per month and at least more than 2 channels. I would say that's what you would need it. Okay. John, can we get a separate video guide using tools like Northbeam, etc.? You can share some gold now. We'll probably doing more Wicked videos. Northbeam is something that they're doing a little bit more enterprise and MMM, so it's not going to be as useful to the majority of small to medium-sized businesses up to about 100 million a year. So we will be doing more Wicked videos. It's still in development, though, in terms of the product suite. So there will be more when it's a little bit more ready to be utilized with the same teachings that we're teaching here. I would say that there's modifications being made currently.
Yeah, I might even get Wicked Scott on here at some point in time.
Yeah, that'd be great
once it's ready for prime time. So
exactly.
We'll keep going here.
Thank you for giving so much value. Do you use education videos as a creative? Yes, we do.
That was the question. Okay,
got it. Yeah, that's all we use. Yep. I can't convince you for fun.
It's going to take like lots and lots of when a lead comes in for tier 11, they usually say, hey, I've watched 20 videos, or I've listened to 100 episodes of Perpetual Traffic. It takes a while to convince people this is a 6-figure sale in most cases.
I also don't want people to come in and be like, who are you? It's like, man, all right, here's everything that you ever will hear anything about us ever.
Let me show you that we actually know what we're doing by putting out educational content. If that's what you're doing, if you're selling a service, that is a very good thing. That is a worthwhile time. And even if you're not pitching.
Yeah. I want you to watch all the content and say, I disagree, and please don't call us. That's what we want.
Exactly. We want our sales guy just to be an order taker, really.
Yeah.
John,
how have you seen work best on demand gen, and how would you evaluate success given a metric? So I actually have had nothing but bad luck on demand gen for anything that's not lead magnet. Demand gen is very good at awareness. It's very inexpensive. It's display heavy. It's feed heavy. It's not like I'm not using it for selling or lead generation. It's just like, hey, you want this case study? You want this download? You want this 7-step guide? You want this coupon? You want this? It's going to be massive. Those are typically leading into an email funnel, but it has very little to do with, okay, they saw us on demand gen and now we're going to go. Demand gen is very, very, very high level. The targeting that usually though is a lookalike audiences or interest-based segmentation. So things I'm interested in or interest with a purchase intention is the one that I usually see best, but I will come at them with a very high level. I don't be like interested in shoes, want to buy a shoe. It's, oh, you're interested in shoes? How about this handy guy for the best running shoe for 2024? Right. I'm gonna do it that way. Got it. Cool. Bridge. Shopee does allow controlling search terms. Keep doing negatives to negatives and feed optimizations. Look at your titles and your descriptions of your feed. Use the GMC rule to append or prepend different keywords in your title. What would happen if you added a product title to your negative keyword list? Will it work off a SKU barcode only? If you added a product, it'll still work off of title and SKU and descriptions. So if you're saying like, hey, I want to sell Samsonite luggage without selling Samsonite luggage, you exclude Samsonite, and you see things like hard side luggage, carry on, best luggage, those things absolutely come in. Yes.
Time for one last one, because
one last one. And we're actually at the last one. Hello, John. A Ralph question for John. Do you just learn from mistakes, testing hypothesis, or are there anywhere to get information and ideas from? No, I've been rabbit holing for like 8 years, and I'm like, I sit there in the shower thinking like, what if? So I have a weird brain that just wants to break things. I like lock picking. I like trying to figure things out and ways to get by things. So that's just how I've been born my whole life. So a lot of time the information and ideas are coming from really too basic in my understanding of how Google works. It's like, here's how TROAS works. I'm like, yeah, but I'm usually leveraging like multiple campaigns, batch types, and bidding strategies to exacerbate how the learning is working. So it's usually just my crazy ass, I call them, tinfoil hat days, where I'm like, I think I can break it this way. So unfortunately, it's just me by myself in the shower, which I don't think you can join me there. Sorry.
Sam would have a real problem with that, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if my wife would be happy with that.
Yeah, exactly.
It would probably have to be a good management fee, though, at least.
Very well, can we sell that as a product? Get into the shower with John?
No, probably. I'd have to do like an R-rated video on YouTube, which would probably get banned. But yeah, well, let's try it.
What's the pricing on that? We'll get TJ on that. He'll productize that.
Shower time with John.
Shower time with John. Maybe that's what next week's episode is going to be. We're just going to interview you from the shower.
Like, so the bidding strategy that we're going to be using today.
Using my Dove soap. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming today on our YouTube live on a Thursday. I don't know.
Yeah,
like these are pretty cool. Like we changed the day and the time and everything, and people still show. So really appreciate everyone coming. We will post obviously on the socials our next one for next week, which I believe will be on a Friday for next week. If I'm not mistaken.
But says, what shower do you use? We need to know.
Oh, that's good. Bodeo,
Tune in next week to find out.
Tune in next week to find out.
I'm gonna put my webcam in the shower for next week.
Webcam in the shower. Oh my god, that'll get us banned on YouTube. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, John Moran. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.